This is going to be a tough one. The Lady Vols absolutely have their work cut out for them when they go on the road to take on #1 Texas for a 3-game series this weekend in Austin. Through 40 games this season, it does not look like the Longhorns have a weakness to them. I'm Paige Dower. This is the Field Pass on Full Disclosure. So how are the Lady Vols going to manage not getting swept, winning the series, or even just winning a game against #1 Texas? Well, it probably will look a lot like how they did to the conference's other newest member in the Oklahoma Sooners. The Lady Vols thrive in that underdog role. They have thrived when cards are stacked against them and it looks like there's no chance they're going to win. And that's a mindset they took with them to Oklahoma, where they defeated the Sooners, won the series against the Sooners, and actually became just the 3rd team to win a series at Oklahoma since 2006. In a little history of their own, it was the first road series wins the Lady Vols has captured against a top 2 opponent in program history. So there's a formula that they have to beat a top-ranked team, to avoid getting swept, to being competitive in these tough road environments. In fact, Tennessee, I think, is the only program that's going on the road to take on both of these 2 teams that are now new members to the SEC. So certainly a lot of things maybe playing to their disadvantage, but they're finding a way to make it play to their advantage. And I think one thing that really will play to their advantage and what will contribute to that win for Tennessee is the arms in the circle, starting with Carlin Pickens. She has been as reliable of a pitcher that you can ask for. She has been incredibly dominant this entire season. She's 15th in the country in strikeouts per 7 innings pitched. She gets about 9.6 a game. And then you match that to maybe what the arms around her will be able to do. They need to find a way for those pitchers to complement not only what Carlin does, but to continue to show their own growth and development. You know, comparison is the thief of joy. We're certainly not comparing the pitchers to just Carlin, but when you're looking at the certain goals you want to be able to accomplish this season, you certainly want the arms around Carlin and within that softball program to continue to show growth and continue to make strides, because they ran into a little bit of issue a couple of these series in SEC play, and we saw that most recently against Mississippi State. And how that's comparable to Texas is in this stat line. The Texas Longhorns, they have 5 batters who have an on-base percentage of better than 500, and those 5 have combined for 249 hits. As a team, they're 4th best in the country in hits. So what does that tell you? I think it tells you the most underrated aspect of this game, and it's that Texas, they're full of patient hitters, and they are power hitters, and they have ways of getting on base. One of those ways is they will gladly take a walk, and that's where Tennessee got in a little bit of trouble against Mississippi State in Game 2, where they gave up 8 runs in that first inning. Part of that heightened damage came from the Bulldogs taking walks. They have got to find a way to limit that against the Texas Longhorns, whether Carlin or the other pitchers, to not, as Karen Weekly will say, give up freebies.
Oh, it's huge. You got to make them earn what they got, and you know they're good at doing that too. But if you allow them to get freebies, then that's how they can get rallies started. And not only do they have power, but they're really good at just putting the ball in play and finding holes. So they have a lot of hitters that have just really good barrel control. So we're going to have to minimize any damage with walks or hit batters.
But there's also not this sense of fear within the pitching staff. You saw in how they were able to respond the rest of the game. In Game 2, they really locked down. They ended up giving up 12 runs, but they really could have just shut down after that first inning, and who knows what that game would have turned into. I think that fight's a huge component to the pitching staff and to the makeup of this team, and that's certainly something that they're leaning into ahead of a huge challenge against the Texas batters.
I think our pitching staff, they embrace those challenges. And again, it's I've got nothing to lose. Go out and just really let it fly and see what happens. So I think as a team, we're just excited for that challenge.
But more than anything, regardless of what happens in this series, I think it's another opportunity for them to learn a lot about themselves, to continue to build on that positive consistency that they're wanting, to continue to play with energy, which I think is why it was a little competitive in the innings after the first inning against Mississippi State and Game 2, because they kept that focused energy. They maintained consistency in the batter's box to continue to pass the bat along. And that's something that I noticed in between innings in that top inning, and it's an interesting thing to note. So after Tennessee gave up 8 runs in the first inning, Karen Wickley met with her entire team right next to the dugout in the in-between innings and essentially used up all the time that was allowed in between those innings to talk to her team. And I thought it was worth asking Karen what that message was, because I think you saw an immediate change in the innings following, and I think it's something that they can rely on and look back to, especially when they get in tight pressure situations like they likely will against the Texas Longhorns this weekend. And her answer was very entertaining, to say the least.
Basically just said, blank happens, and we need to, at this moment, just, have quality at bats. This is a series. This isn't about one swing, one at bat, one game.
Yeah, blank absolutely happens to pretty much anybody and everybody, and certainly can happen in the game of sports. So I think Tennessee being able to build off of that moment, to refer to that moment moving forward, I think would make for an interesting series. They obviously have another chance to go win a top 2 road game, a road series in one season, which would be really magical for Karen Wickley's team as they continue to experience firsts, even in her long career that she's had with the Lady Volunteers. But certainly make sure to go back to the homepage. Burt Bertelkamp sat down with Jimmy Himes, talked about his career before the broadcasting career when he became one of the voices of the Volunteers, actually in his playing days at Tennessee. A great conversation. We'll have much more coming up on Deshaun Bishop as well, and his journey that he's been on at Tennessee ahead of the orange and white game on Saturday. So certainly make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that content. I'll talk to you guys later this week.